"500 miles up the river Ganges, at the town of Rishikesh in Uttar Pradesh, towers the Lakshman Jhula Bridge. This great sweep of artistic steel has hung there for nearly 40 years, yet still appears today like some construction of the future. Somehow you connect it with rockets and satellites, or expect that it was built at least for men in spacesuits. But under it flowed the Ganges, the river of India. And along its banks gather the temples, the steps, the ghats, and the endless ranks of the people of India. The bridge hasn't altered this. I came to Rishikesh from Haridwar, about 20 miles downriver, one dusty morning in February. On and on past the endless lines of pilgrims, beggars, lepers, the leftovers of society. It is here that you suddenly see how incongruous are great modern constructions like the Lakshman Jhula Bridge. No, it wasn't built for men in spacesuits. Pilgrims, beggars, lepers, and tourists too. It was here that I first met Raju, the smallest tourist guide I have ever seen. 9 years old, but looking more like 6. Not yet 4 feet high, but with all the authority and confidence to compensate for any chance lack of years or inches. I was attracted by the strength and charm of this mini-man, as doubtless were his customers, whom he confidently handled like some elderly guide in the British Museum who has been through it all 1,000 times before. The point about Raju was that he had. The religious town of Rishikesh was Raju's district. The Lakshman Jhula Bridge was his beat. Sometimes 10 times a day, often 7 days a week, he did his guide act. Off duty, Raju would hang around with his brother Damodar, who is also a guide, and pass away the time drinking tea. Raju and Damodar are Brahmins, born in Jaipur in Rajasthan while he fussed about. After all, I was his guest as well as his customer.
Raju beta?
Finally, we got down to the story again. The story of the 2 men who wouldn't pay him his dues. Well then, I followed them all the way and wouldn't let them go, he went on. We'll just have a swim here, they said. You wait and we'll pay you. But of course they didn't. They ran off. I found out from some friends of mine where they had gone to, and I followed them all the way to Haridwar by taxi. By taxi, I said. How could you possibly afford that? Oh, I didn't pay for the taxi, he replied. I have friends and I got a free lift to Haridwar, 20 miles away. And in the end, I caught up with them and demanded my money. And I got it. The little chap went on and on. The story of this sad adventure developing like his guided tour itself, full of the touches and flourishes which made it dramatic, and yet entirely believable. When he finally reached the climax, he was quite matter-of-fact about his triumph. There was no special sense of pride or achievement. He had just been cheated. Not an unusual thing to happen. He ought to have been more careful. After all, a good guide selects his own customers. I asked him if he ever saved any money. No, he said, I give it all to my parents. No money, no food.
पैसा मैंने खर्च दिया तो पिताजी ने घर पे कह दिया।
अच्छा।
थोड़ी थोड़ी बातों में ये कह देते हैं घर पे।
अच्छा। And what about marriage and children? I asked. Will they too become guides? But that was too much for the little fellow.
तो गाइड करवाएगा बच्चों से अपने? गाइड का काम करवाएगा, पढ़ा लिखाएगा?
What a strange contrast to see this tough little man who had pursued two cheats 20 miles to Haridwar and had been earning an adult wage since he was about 5, now doubling up in embarrassment at the mere mention of girls and marriage and children.
भाई राजू, यार तू मेरे ख्याल में दुनिया का सबसे माहिर, सबसे बड़ा गाइड है, इसमें शक नहीं।
अच्छा जी।
हाँ।
अच्छा।
अच्छा।
In the end, he decided he had to get back to work. I told him I thought him one of the best guides I had ever met. Thank you, he said, but I have to get on now. What about your pay, I asked. How much do I owe you? Oh, don't worry, he replied. I'll settle with you later. Presumably, I had passed the test. And so off he went, back to his beat on the bridge, hobbling in his funny way over the cobblestones, looking for more custom, sorting out, perhaps more carefully now, the sheep from the goats. No, not that pair. But try again. And above him, the ultra-modern span of the Lakshman Jhula Bridge, symbol of a new society, but a society still old enough in places to ask a child to give up his boyhood.